Hello, hello, my name is Serv, and the patch 7.1 Crossroads complete patch notes just released, and so we are going to go and look over the job changes and see exactly who got buffed, who got nerfed, and what to make of all of this. So, we're going to start here with Paladin. We've got a cover buff, so the range has gone from 10 to 20 yalms. Effectively, if you were chasing around DPS or healers and you were worried about them breaking the chain and dying because they're not paying attention, this should make it so you don't even have to chase them. Next, we've got Intervene. This was a level 74 ability, so you'd only have it for Shadowbringers content. Now you'll have it in Stormblood content, which means if you're doing Ultimate Prog on Paladin, you have a dash now. As in Uwu and Yukab. Hallowed Ground also now has its effect applied earlier. So what this means is when you press the button, the delay between the time it takes you to press the button and the effect to actually make you unkillable has been reduced. So if you've ever used like Hallowed Ground or Holmgang or whatever, and you press the button, it goes on cooldown, and you still die, this should hopefully stop that from ever happening again. We'll have to see when the servers go live though, and we can actually see just how much they reduced the delay. And it looks like every single tank got this same change. Now moving on to Warrior, we've got the same thing on Holmgang, faster application of the invulnerability. And Chaotic Cyclone now has a faster hit detection, which effectively means when you press the button, it's going to deal damage faster than previously. You're not going to have higher DPS, but like, say you're trying to get that Bloodwetting heal off of Chaotic Cyclone, you'll get the heal faster. Now, we'll move on to Dark Knight, who got an insane buff. Personally, I'm a big Dark Knight player. I've been playing it, most played job in the game for me for like 5 years. So these changes, they're insane, let me tell you. So we'll start with Dark Mind. Dark Mind is no longer dead weight in any fight without magic damage, because it now has a 10% physical mitigation. So, still better for magic, but if you're fighting something that either doesn't have magic at all or is rarely using it, this ability is going to be much more useful. Living Dead, once again, same change as all the other involts, it just activates faster. Now, Abyssal Drain now has its cure potency more than doubled. So if you pop this in a mob pool or something, and you're near death, this will bring you back up to full 100% of the time. Now, Carven Spit also got a 500 potency heal. I know me and tons of other Dark Mains have been asking and honestly begging for this for a very long time. So finally, just a little bit more healing for Dark Knight. Once every minute, you're getting an extra 500 potency heal. I'll take that. I'm sure other Dark Knight players will take that. Doesn't force us into using Abyssal Drain when the healer dies in dungeons either, so that's pretty cool. Bloodspiller got a 20 potency increase to help it keep up with the other tanks, and alongside that, the Scarlet Delirium combo also got a 20 potency buff to keep up with Bloodspiller. Dark Missionary now also has a 5% physical mitigation, kind of like Dark Mind, half of the magic mitigation in physical. Very cool. I don't think we're going to use it a whole lot, but in specific instances where physical damage is coming out in... No, I don't like that. In specific instances, this can be really good. Now, we'll move on to Gunbreaker. So first of all, Gunbreaker getting a buff to Aurora. Aurora was already really strong with I believe it was a 1200 potency heal if I'm remembering correctly. This is a 50% buff. So that 1200 potency heal should now be what is that, 1800 potency. That's insane, and you have 2 charges too. So the music stopped. Now we'll look at Superbolide. Once again, the same effect. We're seeing faster application of the invuln, so you'll hopefully die less on Gunbreaker, but it no longer drops your health to 1. Superbolide is no longer the meme button, where you give your healer a panic attack because it's funny, which honestly kind of makes me sad. I loved making dungeon healers like freak out. Gunbreaker could already just about fully heal itself during the duration of Super Blood. Now, with 50% of your health just being there when you use it, you'll basically always be able to fully heal yourself, so this is kind of just a better hallowed ground now, with it having a way shorter cooldown, so insane buff here for Gunbreaker. We'll move on to Heart of Light. We're getting the exact same buff Dark Knight does. Your party-wide mitigation now has a 5% physical mit on top of the pre-existing 10% magic, so nice for lots of physical damage. Hypervelocity got a nerf, and the reason for this is Double Down got its cartridge cost reduced from 2 to 1. Now, this is definitely going to make Gunbreaker easier for players who might find it be overwhelming or just simply not fun. And it'll also increase the damage of the job because now you can do an extra cartridge ability. So, just all around, looks like we're going to see an increase in damage on Gunbreaker, and it's going to be way harder to kill as well. Just massive Gunbreaker buffs. Absolutely insane. Now, Dragoon. Piercing Talon. This is your ranged attack where you, like, throw the lance that you probably never use. Well, it got a buff. I don't think you're going to use it still, but you can. And we also have a new Enhanced Piercing Talon, which further increases the damage from 200 potency, which it has been increased to 350 potency. And to get this 350 potency out of your Piercing Talon, all you have to do is use Elusive Jump. So Elusive Jump now has a special effect where it just buffs your Piercing Talon. I would think of this kind of like how when Reaper uses Hell's Ingress or Hell's Egress, you get the instant cast on your ranged attack. It's kind of the same deal, just for if you can't get melee uptime, this is like your last resort to deal damage. Now Gear Skogul, interestingly, no longer gives you 3 stacks of Nastrond. I haven't played Dragoon in a while. Maybe Dragoon players weren't really enjoying having to mash the Gear Skogul button 4 times during burst, especially for a new player. Because I mean, for all of us like veteran players, the idea of pressing Nastron 3 times is just that is intuitive. But for a new player, I imagine this just seems stupid and clunky. So honestly, I think it's a good change. And to make up for the fact that you lost your 3 casts of Nastrond, or well, I guess 2 of them. You're now getting a pretty fat potency buff on Mirage Dive, seeing almost double its potency. We're seeing Nastrond itself is getting about double potency. And Stardiver as well, getting a 100 potency boost. Starcross, another 100 potency boost, bringing it up to a clean 1000. So, Dragoon players rejoice, it seems like your job is just getting better. Now, Ninja, another case of the ranged attack getting a buff. I really don't know why. Maybe for the Chaotic Ray, they think things are going to get real stupid, so they're giving us this in advance. I'm not sure, but there you go, I guess. You know, free damage is free damage. Now, Dream Within a Dream is seeing a buff from 150 potency to 180. Now, what this would actually total to is a 90 potency buff, because it hits 3 times. So it's 90 potency just once every minute, just off this alone. That's pretty clean. You're going to get like a good, like, I don't know, 700 to 800 potency per fight off of this. That's awesome. Dokumori, which is the upgrade to Trick Attack, now has an AoE instead of being single target. I didn't even realize that. I thought it was already single target, or sorry, AoE. So there you go. Now it's actually AoE, for anyone who is confused like me. It does have reduced damage to all other targets, but that's fine. Tenchi Jin. Players can now move while under the effect of Tenchi Jin. That is mind-blowing to me. So Tenchi Jin previously, if you move an inch while using it, or maybe you don't come to a complete stop before pressing the button, Tenchi Jin just gets eaten. You don't get to use it. Now you can use it whilst running laps, I guess. Maybe they expect players to be running around more, or maybe this was their solution to players with higher ping having to wait a moment after they come to a full stop before pressing it, because that actually can eat it as well. As someone who plays on high ping on occasion, it definitely makes Ninja a pain in the ass, so this is nice. And Tenri Jindo, this is the combo finisher you get when you use Tenchi Jin. This now has faster hit detection as well, which is kind of interesting. I thought they intentionally made it really slow to like or link up with the animation, but I guess not. Now moving on to Samurai, Hisatsu Gyoten, which is your dash, has gotten its cooldown cut in half, so if you're zipping in and out, it's easier now, you can do it more frequently. It really feels like there's a theme here with all of the melee DPS. Like, they really think we're not going to be getting much uptime like we used to be, or it'll be much harder to get uptime. Maybe this is for Futures Rewritten Ultimate, the Eden Ultimate fight we're getting soon. Could be for that, could be even for the Chaotic Raid. Or maybe they just have some really insane shit cooked up in the new dungeon. Who can say? Gyofu, the first part of your standard weapon skill combo, has gotten a 10 potency increase. I mean, that'll add up. That's pretty nice. I don't know how much a samurai uses Gyofu in a run, so I can't give an estimate of damage increase, but this should be pretty sizable, just were I to guess. We're seeing Zanshin as well. He's getting an 80 potency buff. That's once every 2 minutes, so that's probably... What would that be? Ninja was like 700-ish. This is probably like, what, 400, 500? And that's on a short fight. Tendo Kaishi Setsugeka, which is the second Midare you get to use during your burst phase in level 100 content. The animation is being changed, of all things. Not what I had expected. I mean, if you've got Samurai to level 100 and you use Tendo Kaishi, it does look a little bit stupid, I'm not gonna lie. It's just two massive chunks of ice that overlap each other. Doesn't really work, so maybe this is an attempt to make it feel a little bit less like random shit just piling onto your screen. I don't know. I look forward to seeing it. We will have a few hours after this video goes live that you should be able to log on to the servers and actually see for yourself what that looks like. Now we're going to move on to Reaper. Reaper didn't really get much in the way of changes at all, kind of like in the 7.0 patch. So Arcane Circle is now going to give you effects, or rather stacks, of Circle of Sacrifice off of abilities instead of just weapon skills and I think spells. So all this really means for Reapers is you're going to get max stacks a little bit faster when you're in a party. That's about it. Now Void Reaping, Cross Reaping, and Grim Reaping, just all of the Reaping weapon skills. They're all listed here under a change. This isn't actually doing anything. All this is when you go into Enshroud and you have to do those 4 slashes before you Communio. Communio would be lit up the entire time, and Cross Reaping would stay that way even when it's time to use Communio and stop reaping. So now effectively, you reap 4 times, and then the reaping skills are going to stop glowing, so you know it's time to press Communio. If you just count how many times you press the button or look at the job gauge, this probably isn't an issue for you. If you play Reaper in any capacity, this probably isn't an issue for you, but for anyone getting into Reaper, I'm sure this is really convenient. So there you go, just a little quality of life change, and once again, more hit detection adjustments. I think this is the enhanced AoE when you use Gluttony, so that one did feel a little bit uncharacteristically slow for a weapon skill, so there you go, it does damage a bit faster now. And now Machinist is getting some pretty decent potency increases just all across the board. Machinist has a bit of a reputation for doing absolutely no damage at the higher end, to the point where a lot of parties don't even consider bringing one. So now it looks like Machinist is maybe going to be competitive. I wouldn't even be able to tell you how much of a damage increase this actually is, but I would be willing to bet it'll be pretty sizable. I mean, we're seeing a 20 potency boost on some combo actions. Blazing Shot, which is your burst, is getting a 20 potency boost. Flamethrower is bigger and better, but it's still really boring, so that doesn't help anything. And then Double Check and Checkmate, which you're going to be spamming the hell out of during your burst phase and throughout the entire fight, are getting a 10 potency boost each. So this should add up. Maybe we'll see Machinist doing more than scraping up the bottom of the barrel on every single DPS tier list. Now for Dancer, one of my favorite jobs. Fan Dance and Fan Dance 3 are getting a buff. We spam the hell out of these abilities too, just like Double Check and Checkmate on Machinist, so this will definitely contribute to the overall damage of Dancer pretty significantly. Now, Curing Waltz is also getting its area of effect increased from 3 to 5 yalms. This sounds kind of inconsequential, and I'm sure it will be for any organized party, but if you're pugging or you're in Duty Finder or whatever the hell, you might find it's really hard to get randoms to actually come into range of Curing Waltz so you can use the thing, and it's actually a pretty sizable heal. So this should make it way easier to actually get value out of Curing Waltz as a dancer player who wants to actually help the healers out a little bit. And Starfall Dance, if you were one of those dancer players who was very upset about the fact that we have another button to put onto our hotbar in the form of Last Dance, well, you don't need to worry anymore because now you can take Last Dance, put that wherever you had Devilment, and take Devilment off your bar because now you can just have, or not Devilment, sorry, Starfall Dance. Take Starfall Dance off your bar because Devilment now turns into Starfall Dance if you opt into that in the weapon skill UI. So that's really, really cool. Moving on to Black Mage. Black Mage got a really, really interesting change, and I look forward to seeing how Black Mage players put this to use. So first of all, not super interesting, Flare has its cast time reduced. This is just going to buff Black Mage's AoE, which was kind of lacking in my opinion. Now, Ley Lines, this is where the meat is here. Now a charged action with a maximum of 2 charges, and it cannot be executed while under the effect of Ley Lines, so you can't like make 2 Ley Lines at once if you wanted to do that for some unhinged reason. Now, Ley Lines is a 120-second cooldown ability, 2 minutes, which means we're not going to be saving up 2 charges at any point during the fight unless something weird happens. So this means that Black Mage is now going to be able to use its Ley Lines outside of the burst phase. At some point, I really don't know why you would want to do this. I'm sure Black Mage players will figure out a reason, and I'm sure it'll be really cool, because you guys are crafty little bastards, and I love seeing how you break the game. So have fun doing whatever you plan to do with this. Maybe the new fights are going to give Black Mages more reasons to really want to be able to capitalize on a sort of mini burst phase outside of the raid buffs. Despair is now an instant cast as well, which should increase your damage a little bit, since I'm pretty sure that was previously like a 3-second cast. And Enhanced Enochian has gone down by 1% from 33 to 32% to make up for the fact that, you know, you've got another Ley Lines to do whatever the hell you want with, and I guess Despair is better too. Summoner. Summoner, I mean, it's still Summoner, unfortunately. All of your big summon actions now have their potency increased by 50, so they're now all a 800 potency attack. Sunflare has gone from 700 to 800 potency, and Crimson Cyclone, the melee combo you do during your Ifrit phase, is no longer a combo, it's now a buff that just lets you use the second part of it after you do the first one. This probably won't really change things a whole lot. It should ideally mean that you can use certain actions in between. Like, I don't know if maybe raising an ally was interrupting Crimson Cyclone and Crimson Strike, and now maybe it won't. I don't know. They don't list what actions don't interrupt it now. It is possible that maybe instead of like a 30-second timer you have to use the second hit, you now have 1 minute. So like if the boss goes out of range or something for an extended period. It seems really niche and situational, but I'm sure someone somewhere will appreciate it at some point in their life. It's Summoner. Alright, on to Red Mage. This is the exact same as every other Red Mage change we get. They just make Sword Combo feel a little bit less flaccid to use. So Verflare, Verholy, Scorch, and Resolution are all getting a potency buff. The latter of 30 and the former of 50. Yes, I can read 50. So, I mean, it'll help. It'll be a lot of extra damage for the Red Mage, and it might help Red Mage stop scraping up right alongside like Machinist as far as damage goes. So, I mean, just it's nice to see. Maybe, and now that we're getting into these actually like pretty fat numbers, like 850 on Resolution, it'll make the sword combo feel more satisfying, I hope. Pictomancer getting a quality of life change that it really should have had when it first came out, and I think a lot of us were surprised it didn't, but I think everyone saw this coming. Now when you spawn in, you don't need to cast all 4 of your motifs. They're just going to be there by default when you respawn or enter an instance. So really nice. You're not going to get like cucked out of having your burst phase because somebody pulled the boss a little bit early. And Starry Muse, if you have the battle effects set to show limited, you're not going to see the butterflies and the flowers and the grass. And effectively, if you hate fun, you don't have to have fun. Now, healers across the board, Isuna is now an instant cast. So for those of you who would get really mad when you got paralyzed and you had Isuna, the Leviathan paralysis specifically, which has got like a really oddly high rate of actually ticking, and you just couldn't save yourself, now you can. That's cool. I like that. White Mage. White Mage got a pretty fat buff. First of all, Holy finally has been reduced from 2.5 seconds to 1.5 seconds to cast. This means when you are using Holy, you can actually use your OG CDs during the pull without having to interrupt it with a Lily to actually be able to weave. So that's really nice, and you can move too. Well, you could always move, but now you can move more. So White Mage will feel a lot better in dungeons and any sort of AoE. This might remove that one tech that you can do in raids where you can use a Holy with very specific timing to make it pop and hit the boss before you have any time to cast a new spell. I know like no White Mage actually does that, and the potency gain is so small it basically doesn't matter. But yeah, I guess the Holy tech is gone for all of you sweaty White Mage parsers. Glare 3 has gotten a 10 potency buff. That should be about 1200 extra potency in the run of a fight. So that's really cool. We love to see this. And it can be longer if the fight's longer. That was I think that's like an 8 to 9 minute encounter should be about 1200 if you're using it a lot. So that's really, really good. And we're seeing Afflatus Misery gets a buff too. This isn't actually a damage buff to White Mage. This is just to keep it in line with Glare, because Misery has to be 4 times the potency of Glare, or it fundamentally the job doesn't work. And Divine Caress has gotten its area of effect increased from 15 to 30 yalms. It's weird that it wasn't like this in the first place, so that's a good change to see. Now, Scholar. This is a bit of a point of contention. So for a very long time, for some reason, Scholar's Embrace, which is the automatic heal that your fairy does every like 3 seconds, was at 150 instead of 180, because of a bug, no less. And so the devs went and fixed it and then called it a buff. I don't fucking know, man. But anyways, your fairy now actually heals 180 instead of 150, so there you go. Congratulations. The fairy is fixed. It's healed. Eos recovered. And on top of that, mana has gotten a little bit better. We got a mana buff here with Adlo and Succor going from 1000 to 900, as well as the enhanced versions of these actions when you're in Seraphism. So I don't know about you, but whenever I have to go into Seraphism for like a oh shit, my co-healer died kind of deal, or like I have to do a heal check and the party doesn't know how to mitigate, I come out with like maybe 1000 MP and maybe had to sacrifice my pot for an ether. So this might actually help in not completely draining the Scholar dry after any sort of heal check. Love to see that. So just a little quality of life, really, is what I consider that. And speaking of quality of life, we've got another change for Astro. Astro got a shockingly low amount of changes for the job that gets reworked like every 20 minutes. So Astro now has its AoE range, or radius rather, increased from 5 to 8 yalms. So for AoE pulls where the tank just is not good at grouping, maybe it's because there are big adds and the tank doesn't know you have to like circle the adds or walk through them to get them to stick together for, casters. Well, you don't need to worry anymore because gravity is just bigger. I don't know if that means the animation will be bigger, or like the big gray ball or the ring of gray balls will be larger. I hope they are, because that'd be funny, though it would really get in the way of the screen as far as screen clutter goes, but I think it'd be cool. Might just be the white effect. We'll see. I'm rambling. Let's move on to Sage. So, Sage is getting an MP buff just like Scholar did. Your GCD heals are now cheaper. And then it's getting a damage buff. I didn't realize Sage was lacking in damage, but I guess it was because we're seeing Dosis get a 10 potency buff from 360 to 370. 370 is kind of a lot for a healer in my opinion, but here we are. And Toxicon and Numa get the same thing. Don't worry, it's the same as Misery. These just have to get buffed to stay in line with Dosis. The job would break if they weren't. Another MP buff here. And Philosophia, did I say that right? Now has its its AoE increased from 20 to 30 alms. Really weird that it wasn't already 30 alms like the other heal check abilities, so that's been fixed now. And that is everything for the PvE job changes. Genuinely, this is one of my favorite patches we've seen in a very long time as far as the job changes go, and I always get really excited about job changes myself. Personally, I think the Dark Knight is what I'm most excited about. I mean, this is just insane. So many things we've been whining and complaining about on forums for literally years have finally come to be. So that's crazy. That is just so amazing. If you're a Gunbreaker, your life just got even better than it already was because you're playing Yoshida's favorite fucking tank, I guess. And Dragoon, it's just better to play. Ninja, what the fuck happened to Ninja? We get a new animation for Tendo, I think. All around amazing patch. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments. I'd love to hear what Dragoon players think about the rotation being not slower, but not as busy, and now you're gonna have way bigger individual hits, which might mean that crit variance is more impactful. We'll see. I'm excited to find out. And with that, I'll see you guys in-game, hopefully in the Juno raids or in the Chaotic raids. So, I've been Serve, and thank you kindly for watching. Fare thee well.